What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Next Level Teaching. They're laughing at me because I was like, I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-hostess with the mostest, Tori Rodriguez. T-Rod, you good?
I'm great.
Boom.
I'm great. Man, this conversation.
Part 2. Let's go.
It has been so good. You got me thinking so much. Yeah. Wow. There's so much like going through my head, so I'm so excited to dig into some more.
Yeah. Let me give them her Instagram in case they missed the first one.
Yeah. If you missed the first one, you got to go back. By the way.
Oh yeah. You got to go back to the previous episode. Yeah. So Nita on Instagram is at Love Teach Bless. Been in the education for 17 years.
That's right.
All in elementary school. 13 years teaching, but now for the last 4 years. Coaching, helping, guiding, mentoring other educators. We want to hear about that. We want to hear talk about self-care, because a lot of educators that rock with us, say like, Tori, when you cry and your emotions, like they connect with that, it's a struggle. So we would love for you to take some time throughout this episode today, the second part, to kind of talk about the self-care. Go ahead, Tori.
Before, though, I want to kind of hop into what this school year is looking like for you in your role as supporting teachers as they are recovering from this past year, because I think emotional. Yes, let's be honest. I think recovering instructionally, like curriculum wise, right? We know that there are going to be gaps, and I know that you guys were in the building, but let's be honest, there are going to be gaps. There were kids that were out for weeks, whether they actually had COVID or they were quarantining or whatnot. And I know that there were some kids, at least in your district, that were digital. So and so I don't know what that looked like necessarily at your school. I just know because my mom's in your district. So I've lived some of that life, but I want to know what that's going to look like. And also with teachers and their mental health, their emotional health. I talked to someone and they were like, Tori, you have PTSD from this past year. And so I think that there's a lot that we are recovering from as a world, as a nation, but also as a profession. So what is that looking like for you this year?
One thing I always tell my teachers is that no stress. That's what we always talk about. Because even I'm doing, I have done summer camp before. And so I'm like, no stress. Meet kids where they are. That's it. You meet kids, and when we say that there's gaps, so I kind of feel like learning was happening. It may not be the type of learning
that we've always had.
Yeah. But this is a new time. To reinvent education.
Thank you.
So you want to meet your kids where they are. So when we say gaps, I struggle with that word a little bit because
I do as well. And I'm just I know. Yes, I'm coming from like what everyone else is thinking, because everyone's like, oh, they're so behind, and I'm like, behind what? Behind who?
I mean, that's kind of what I'm feeling you on that, because it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, there's some kids that really struggled. That had a hard time because of inequities in education.
Yes.
And that's the way I look at it. That's the way it's because of inequities in education.
Yes.
Now the kids that have and the have-nots, and the kids that had, they had their laptops, they had their Wi-Fi, they had their
supportive parent,
had everything that they needed to flourish during that time. But then you had kids where, we didn't think about as a county, we had laptops, but then Wi-Fi. We're in a rural area. We had no Wi-Fi. Some kids had no Wi-Fi. So it's one of those things where you meet kids where they are, but in the midst of that, no stress. You meet them where they are. You do the best you can, and you push them. And I always say, for me, I'm like, you know what? Make sure they're reading. Make sure they're engaged. Get them engaged. Build those relationships. Do all of those math, of course, because I know how to say math. Literacy is I know, but math, and do all those things. But they'll get to where they need to be.
Yes.
But if you build relationships and you pump up engagement and you meet kids where they are, it will come.
Yeah.
Right. But I think sometimes just from standards and the state and standardized testing, which I wish were thrown out forever, like all those things, that the pressure, it trickles down. But I think and teachers know that the ones I work with know I'm going to be like, no, we're not stressing out about this.
Yeah.
We're going to do good teaching like we normally have done, and we're going to continue on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that I'm sure that there are other teachers out there that are listening that, like, deep down in my heart, I hear no stress and I go,
right.
Okay. Right. But I think we have to learn to realize that, like, sometimes what the county expects, sometimes even what our administration expects. I did not say this, but someone else the other day said something about, sometimes when people step out of the classroom, they step up into that ivory tower and they forget. And so I think that we just have to remember that as teachers and not let their expectations affect us.
And build that culture in your school. Right? Yeah. So if it's just you by yourself, it's just me, the instructional coach, saying that, and then admin saying something different, and then the county saying something different, yeah, you're going to feel that pressure.
Yeah.
But if you have a culture in your school that's saying, we're meeting kids where we are, and you have each other, you're feeding into each other, right? So when you're feeling stressed, we're like, I'm your partner. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. What you need help with? And we build that community amongst each other.
Yeah.
Then I feel like you're building a community and a culture of self-care and we're lowering that stress level.
Yeah.
That's really how I feel.
Yeah. I think we have to get away from comparison.
Oh, yeah.
We have, as a world, as a society, we have gotten big into comparison when it comes to like social media and things like that. But we also sit here and compare all day long. Let's be honest, rankings between schools, between districts, between countries. Right? Where does the U.S. rank in comparison to, like, Singapore? Like, I think about Singapore math, right? Like, where do we rank in comparison? I'm like, what does it matter?
Right.
What does it matter what our ranking is if our kids aren't walking out into society knowing how to be good people, knowing how to do the basics in life? It's what does it matter if they can sit here and do calculus, but they don't know how to do their taxes, but they don't know how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right, exactly.
I mean, hello, what does it matter? And so we've got to get away from that comparison. And I think that that's where we as teachers feel that stress is, well, my standardized test scores have to be better than this school's, or better than this county's. Why do we have to be number one?
And that was my first question when the state decided to go ahead with standardized testing.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, so my admin was like, we're just going to take it and that's it.
Yep.
We're not doing a whole bunch of test prep. We're not doing that. We're taking the test. Yep. Check. And so, but at the same time, my question was, as a county, are they doing this ranking thing?
Yeah.
That was because, I mean, that's fine. We're going to do that. But that's my problem. It's always a rank. And it's not apples to oranges.
No.
So you're looking at maybe one school that, and again, have and have nots. Yep. So are you going to rank, but are we going to make it equitable ranking?
Yes.
So what are we doing? Because if my kids are surpassing or doing really well on the test, in spite of what other stuff is they're being pulled back.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
They're pushing forward, but still being pulled back versus you start here.
Yes.
And then make it there.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so let's be equitable in our rankings. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I imagine, there are so many. All right. So let's talk about this because there are a lot of things that we cannot necessarily control.
Yes.
So when you're looking at a teacher, right, who's like, okay, this last year was rough. It was painful. I'm back. I'm doing the best I can. What's some advice that you would say? These are must-haves, like rules that you lived by, right? And I want you to talk about how it is to be married to another educator, and you all balancing that. Do y'all have children?
4.
Okay,
yeah.
so
you got a lot of balance.
So y'all got a lot going on. So if you can, for the next maybe 10 minutes or so, like talk about those dynamics. Okay. Do you all have to? Because we had a previous guest who was saying how your spouse should kind of help you safeguard and set boundaries. Like,
hold accountable.
So do you all have to hold each other accountable, set up boundaries with your kids? Like, kind of let us into your world there.
Okay. I talk about self-care a lot because I struggle with it so much. So I talk about it a lot it's like a reminder for myself too, to set those boundaries for myself.
Yeah.
But I will say my husband is my helpmate. So there's times when, like I'm at work and I just want to get stuff done. And he calls me, he's like, babe, it's 4:00. I'm like, yes, I know. I gotta get this done. He's like, he'll hang up, he'll call back, babe, you're still at work, aren't you? It's done. We're done. Let's get home.
Yes.
We're done.
Let's get home.
Yeah. Oh, babe, no, honey, we're done.
It will be here tomorrow.
It'll be here tomorrow. So and I would like to say that I help him out. It's more on me.
Yeah.
Because he's a self-care. That's what he does.
I love it.
He takes care of himself, whether he needs a break from our own personal children, which we love so dearly, but we need a break from our own kids sometimes.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. So he's good at that. Whereas for me, I talk about it so much because I'm like, teachers, I feel you. You know, you want to get stuff done. You want to finish it. And if you don't, and it's sometimes I think it's something within me. It's not necessarily, you know, you're always going to have the outside forces that are always like saying, do more, be better, do more, be better, do more, be better. But it's something within me that I had to say to myself, my worth is not dependent on how much work I get done. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I had to just say, for my own self-care, for my own health, because, you know, stress and strokes is in my family. So he's really like more now, like, no, we are not about to do that. You have too much on your plate. Release. Let's talk about what you can release. Yeah. Because I'm the type of person who's like, oh, you want me to do that? Sure. Yeah. Let me do that. Yeah, sure. You know, and so I have to
learn
constantly
to
say no. And there's been a couple of conferences that I had to say, you know what? I just can't. I just can't do that. Love what you're doing, but I just can't. And so one thing I would say to teachers is learn to say no.
Yes.
Right? Pick the things that you're passionate about. And I get that teachers want to help out the school and help to pick maybe one thing you're passionate about to be your thing, whatever it is. Because I know in some schools you have to like sign up for committees or whatever. Pick one. That's it.
Yep.
Just because you're good at it doesn't mean you have to be over everything.
Thank you.
You know?
That's it right there.
Because admin will do that.
Yes.
They'll be like, oh, you did this well? Okay, good. Can you do this too? No, I just can't.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes we deal with that voluntold.
It's true.
And I think even sometimes on the voluntold, we still have to stand up for ourselves and say, I appreciate that, but unfortunately, I don't have the capacity for that right now.
I just don't have it in me. And if you want me to be a good teacher, then I have to say no to that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, if you don't care about me, then just put me out there.
Right.
Yes.
And then see what they're
say.
But we have to learn to advocate for ourselves. And, you know, I've talked a lot about that, how I've learned to advocate for myself. And I have gotten some pushback for it. I'm not going to lie. I have had some times where it has been quite evident that it was not always appreciated because I think that teachers they feel bad for advocating for themselves. They feel like they have to be martyrs because that's the expectation. But I think we have to learn that we can't. And so I love that you speak that over yourself and you talk about it so much as a reminder to yourself.
I do. And affirmations, I do that a lot too. One thing I was going to say too is, so saying no is important as well, but also finding something else outside of teaching that you're passionate about.
Yes. Talk more about that.
That's good.
So like, I think sometimes as teachers, we think that's all we have to do. So we're always looking at things, new ways of teaching, and that's good. I think it's great to do that. But I think it's also important to find other things you're interested in.
Yeah.
So like for me, like I like to do yoga. I really like to do yoga a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's...
Have you tried hot yoga?
I have not.
Next level.
Is it?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So like that's one thing that I'm passionate about. And when I feel stressed, you know, even my husband will be like, did you do yoga today or do you need to do it? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Go get your mat, girl.
You go get your mat.
Can I watch?
But find something else, you know, even outside of my children, that's something for me.
Yes.
You know, and I do things as a family, I do things with teaching or education, but that's something for me.
Yes.
You know?
Let me share something with that. And I've said this before, so to our faithful listeners in our community, if you heard it before, like, forgive me, but we get hundreds of new listeners in different countries every week. One thing my mental health coach told me to do, which was hard, he said, Jeremy, I want you to, he's like, you have so much going on. So many people are pulling from you. The demand is high. I'm up to now, let's see here, 440 texts.
Wow.
So he's just like, it's a bit much, right? Take better care of yourself. I felt like I was strong. He's like, no, you're not. He was just like, write down, what did he say? 5 things that you enjoy doing. Only by yourself. Because me being a married man, there's a few things I was thinking about, you know what I'm saying? He's like, no. What do you enjoy doing? Bike riding, whatever it is. Write down 5 things you enjoy doing by yourself that gives you peace, that gives you joy, that gives you happiness. And now you see, like, I want you to do 3 of those every single week.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and that was hard because I'm thinking like, where's the time? He said, you have to find the time.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I started getting on myself more about being disciplined.
Yeah.
Because it ain't like Oprah Winfrey get 25 hours and we only get 23. We all get the same amount of time.
You have to be intentional. And you have to put that, just like you put everyone else in your calendar.
There it is.
Right.
You got to put yourself in your calendar.
I was literally just about to say it. One of the pastors that I follow, he even said, even your time with the Lord, you set that in your calendar. I am a calendar kind of gal. I think a lot of teachers are because we have to do our lesson planning and because we can get so busy. And I legitimately have to put in time with the Lord, or I'm going for a walk at this point, or going trail running, or going to take Pure Barre, whatever it is. And if someone asks, hey, are you free? Hey, unfortunately, I'm not at this time.
Yep.
Yes.
Even if it's literally just you doing something, that's still time that is scheduled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's intentional.
It's been times we were going to do some podcasts. And you were like, nope, I'm teaching at church this week. Or nope, I'm doing this concert. Or nope, I'm taking my dog somewhere. And we're like, bet. Because we know how special that time is for you.
Yeah. Right.
So I like the fact that you were telling the educators, like, hey, take some time for you, set those boundaries, and do some things that gives you peace and joy by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I say it to myself a lot because I struggle.
Yeah.
You know, but I will say get an accountability partner. It doesn't always have to be your husband. If you know, it could be your best friend. It could be your sister, your brother.
Yeah.
Someone that's going to hold you accountable to taking care of you.
Yeah.
You know, because the thing is, we only have one life to live. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you got. And how are you going to spend that time? You know what I mean? If you look back and say, you know, what did I do with this time? For me, I didn't want it to be always at the school. Do you know what I mean? Right. I wanted to make sure that I'm taking care of my family. I'm taking care of myself, so have a long life with my family. Yeah. You know, because that's the real deal. You know.
How old are your kids? I'm sorry.
17, 15, almost 14, and 7.
Okay, nice. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that sometimes it's hard for us as teachers to find things outside of school. Like when you just said, when you think about your life, you didn't want it to all be time at the school. And I think sometimes we feel bad for that as teachers because we're like, well, this is my calling. This is my passion. For me, I believe that this is how I serve the Lord. You know, we're asked to give of our time, our talent, and our treasures. Okay, well, this right here, really, when we think about all the things that we do buy for the school, I do technically do all 3.
You do.
When we really think about it like that. But like, this is a form of me serving, of me giving to the Lord, right? But there are other ways that the Lord has called me to serve and to give. Right. And it doesn't just have to be in this. Right. And that's okay.
And you can have more than one calling.
Yes.
And more and lots of different purposes in life. You know, and everything can have a season.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
And so I just feel like, I don't know, when you look back and just remind yourself that life is so precious and that every day is a gift. Yeah. And how you want to spend those days.
The days of educators giving their school their best and their family the rest needs to be over.
Agreed.
Right. And I believe that, you know, we will, in these type of dialogues, will be a catalyst for that.
Yeah.
What advice would you share with, say, a first-year teacher? That, and then I got another question, and then Tori's going to do rapid fire.
Okay.
But what advice would you give a first-year teacher?
A first-year teacher, I would say go home.
Yeah.
Go home. I know there was times when I shut the place down. Yep. It'll be there tomorrow. And another thing I'd say is find a teacher that you really admire and
Yes.
emulate and tack on to that teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes when you get set up with mentors, y'all don't really jive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But find that teacher that's what I did. I literally just, what you doing today? Okay, I'm doing that too. I mean, it was just literally like that, and that helped me so much.
Yep.
And go observe them and take that time with them and let them know. You know, it's sometimes you don't let people know enough.
Yeah.
That I really admire what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would like to do some of that in my room.
And I want to tack on to that real quick. I want to add on to that. At a lot of schools, you're asked to do like a preference form at the end of the school year. Like, what would you like to teach? What grade? What subject? Potentially, who would you even like, especially in middle school, to be your teammates? Put those people on there.
Yeah.
I had one teacher in particular that I'm going to shout her out. Cindy Cordero is phenomenal. She was teacher of the year at the school that I had been working at for a while. And she was phenomenal and taught language arts. So not what I'm teaching, which is actually even better.
Yeah.
She was a police officer. This was her second career.
Wow.
And so sometimes she would look at some of those kids and be like,
Right. I still got my connects.
and it was, oh my gosh, we would all be like around the corner watching as teachers laughing, giggling, because she could, her classroom management was so good. And I requested to be on a team with her. And that year that I was on a team with her, I learned more, and I made sure to be intentional about learning. Teach me everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Teach me everything that you do. How do you get these relationships so good? Like we've talked about, making those positive phone calls to parents.
Yeah. Yes.
Like in the beginning, she would spend the first 2 months really making those phone calls and that parent contact and staying late those first 2 months. So when you get to the end of the school year and they, in a lot of other classes, are acting a fool, you don't have that issue.
I agree.
And so find that teacher, but then see how you can even get closer to them over time. And then find another one and keep learning from different teachers, because every teacher has something that you can learn from them, whether it's good or bad.
And once you learn it, teach someone else.
Yes.
Keep that going.
Pay it forward. I love it. We appreciate you.
Ask question number 2, because I want to, is it the question I think you're going to ask?
Well,
we got to go?
Yes. Okay. So if you could change one thing about the educational system, what would it be?
Inequities in education.
There it is.
I'd want to see to the table with that.
I love it.
Amen.
I love it. Rapid fire time.
Yes. Let's do this.
60 seconds.
Wait, I'm not ready. All right, I'm ready. Oh, he's slurping.
Sorry. Sorry. I'm going to start doing like that. It means mute me so I can slurp. All right, 60 seconds. Let's go.
All right. Who has it easier, men or women?
Men.
Agreed.
That's debatable. I'll just play it.
I just gave him a look. Place you most want to travel?
Greece.
Oh, me too, girl. Take me with you. All right. Favorite city in the U.S. besides the one you live in? Can you
DC.
tell I'm ready to travel?
Washington, D.C.
So good, because you were there for a while.
Yeah.
All right. If you could travel back in time, which period would you go to?
1970s.
Oh, I'm here for it. All right. What's for dinner tonight?
We don't know yet.
Facts.
What's your favorite car?
I just saw a new Suburban, and I was really liking the new Suburban.
Okay. What type of milk do you put in your cereal?
I don't, almond. I don't really eat cereal that much anymore.
And first celebrity crush?
Probably Kobe Bryant.
Oh.
Hey, R.I.P. Kobe. That's not a bad one. You know what I'm saying? Good stuff.
Ma'am, what a pleasure.
Yes.
I've had
Thank
so
you
much
for
fun with
letting
y'all.
me pick your brain and
Love it. Anytime.
It was really good to hear. Thank you for being an advocate for your teachers, because they need that.
Thank you.
We all need someone to really listen to us and speak up for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you for what you do. We're going to have you back too.
Yes,
Okay, I'm
for
ready.
We're going to
sure.
have your husband on the episode.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
And
we
thank
can't
you
wait.
guys.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't wait to see y'all leave us a review.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
If you love what you heard, make sure to leave us 5 stars. Tell us what you want to hear more about, who you want to hear from again, and how much you loved it. We'll see you
Yes.
next time.
Peace.